Hi guys, I'm Darren from Noah Garden Center. Thank you so much for joining us again. And today we are going to start one of our many series on answering some of your typical questions, FAQs that you have about gardening. So the thing about gardening is it's really easy, and it always falls under a few components like water, air, light, and maybe food. Okay, so today I'm going to start with a few series, and one of the areas we're going to look into will be plant care, and also on the miscellaneous ones. So without further ado, I'm going to run through with watering. Okay, one of our very first question from Hiriana, I hope I don't pronounce your name wrongly, Hiriana. So, is Singapore tap water too hard with chlorine for calathea? In terms of our typical tap water, where it comes with chlorine, it's actually okay for plants, yeah? But if you're a bit concerned and you want to go for something better, the best thing that is next to Singapore water tap will be actually, guess what? Sky juice, which is water from the sky, rain. Okay, raindrop is really healthy for the plants, and they really love it. Okay, the next question from I can't pronounce, Master Shank, MSTRSHK. How much water is needed for plants with no drainage hole in the pot? Now, so without any drainage pot, the thing is that you can't really see how much water. Is it over flooding? Is it over watering the plants, right? So one of the things that you can get from Noah Garden Center is called a water indicator. You can search for it under the garden accessories. And when you put it in there, where it's pre-planted together with the water indicator, it comes with this little float. It's like a red needle, and then if the water is high, it will go up to the maximum. So remember not to overwater, and always to keep the water at the middle, between the minimum and the max. Unless you go for some long trips, then you can go for the maximum. If not, try to keep it at the middle, which is between the minimum and the maximum. And then once it goes down to the bare minimum, you can wait for another 5 days to a week. It's fine, because there's still moisture inside there, even though there's no water left, but the soil has soaked up all the water. The water can still last for about 5 to 7 days, and it's good to let the plants sometimes fully dry out in terms of the soil, and then before you go for another good water. Okay, so the other question that I have is I want to dry clean. Okay, I want to dry clean. The question is, how often should I water my peace lily? The leaves are drooping. All right, so one of the biggest concern for peace lily is that when you overwater, the leaves are drooping. When you underwater, which is called wilting, the leaves are also drooping. So how do you tell, right? So I think sometimes you can't tell, really, because the thing is that you must understand that for the plants, is when you overwater and it starts to root rot. Okay, when it's rotting, then the leaves, right, appearance will turn black. And which part of it will turn black or brownish? It starts from the new leaf. All right. The newer baby leaves will always start to rot, and it will turn black or brown very quickly. All right, it doesn't affect the older leaves. I would say that peace lily usually is placed in the indoor position because it's an indoor plant. You can water it once every 4 to 5 days, I think. Yeah, depends on the substrate that you use, or rather the soil material. So if you use something that is high in water retention, then maybe you should water it once a week. Last question by Rose Tan Mei Gui will be Erica plant palm care. So in Singapore, we call this a bamboo palm. Okay, she needs help with the bamboo palm care. I can't strike a balance between overwatering and underwatering. Please help. Okay, so the thing about bamboo palm is that they are really one of the easiest plant species to take care. I would say that in terms of watering, you don't have to think too much, right? Just make sure that it comes with drainage holes, and then you just water it once every 3 days to 5 days. It's fine. Even if you tend to underwater it, right, it's okay. The bamboo palm will not die immediately. One of the key feature to look for when the plant is kind of like dehydrated is obviously it will be kind of like wilting. The other one is actually the leaves will start to curl up. The reason is because they want to prevent water evaporation away from the plant. So by doing this, it's actually a defensive mechanism where it prevents itself from losing too much water. So this is something that I hope to be able to help. So now I'm going to move into the soil and fertilizing category. We have four questions. One is from Legendary. Okay, so the question is, the types of soil. Is cocoa peat a foolproof soil for all house plants? I would say yes and no. Professionals will say that definitely no. They say that they need to have this kind of unique soil combination for this particular species. But for the rest of us who are just general garden lovers, right? I would say that generally speaking, yes, cocoa peat, yes. But if you are just going to use cocoa peat itself, it's not good enough. You have to mix with a bit of a compost, cocoa peat, and maybe a bit of a vermiculite and perlite. So this is to help it to drain better, because cocoa peat itself attracts water, and sometimes it might be too high water retention for certain species. So you can look into our soil category. We have a lot of different soil by different suppliers. Some of them talks about organic ones, some of them talk about higher fertilizing rate. So you can look into that. The other one will be by Herbert Sebastian. Okay, what type of soil is most suitable for indoor plants? So coming back, I think cocoa peat mixed with compost is really a good option. It's clean and it's high in terms of organic matter, which is fertilizer. Yeah, natural fertilizer. I think it's really good. From Majide Kaka, could you share some knowledge on fertilizing, please? We have a huge variations, or rather huge varieties of products on fertilizing. If you check out our fertilizer category, some of them ranges from organic ones to soil to liquid fertilizer, which is the NPK, which is like 20-20-20 kinds, to pellets. I would say that generally speaking, for a new hobbyist, will be looking into more natural. I'm more into a natural fertilizer kind of person. So I like to use compost. I like to use chicken dung. I like to use seaweed extract, liquid fertilizer, to water my plants, because I know that if I over fertilize, right, the plants will not die on me. So another one that the garden center, the professional people like to use is pellets. The pellets are the ones that are really like a tiny ball, yellowish ones, some of them in different colors. If you use your 2 fingers and you press on it, it will break into, then there's this liquid that comes out. So those are slow release fertilizer. You can sprinkle some. We do carry that. Osmocord. By Legendally, another question, are fertilizers necessary? What kind of fertilizer would you recommend? Humans need to eat, right? So the plants also need to have food. So fertilizer is absolutely a necessary for the plants to grow. But some people think that they need to constantly fertilize. That's not correct. Fertilizer should occur maximum once a month. So they need to rest for 2 weeks and fertilize for 2 weeks and rest for 2 weeks. Another thing you need to know is that whatever substrate that it comes together, whether it be clay soil, cocoa peat, or maybe it's just a typical sandy substrate, understand that those substrate itself already has some kind of nutrients inside and minerals. So you don't necessarily need to fertilize all the time. Some plant species, right, they generally can let it go. Yeah. Okay. So that goes for the soil. I'll move on into under the propagation. Question from Rain on Me 77 is how to report. The thing about reporting is that you need to have your materials ready in terms of the substrate, the new substrate, and also on the plant itself and the new pot. The question is why we need to report and how do we report? Why do we report is that we know that the roots are kind of like root bound within the pots, and we need to let them go into another space where there's more roots, more space for them to grow. So from a smaller pot to a medium-sized pot, from a medium-sized to a larger pot. Don't skip the process. Don't go for the small pot and straight away go. One keynote to note is that when is the plant ready to be transported, or rather to be reported, is that when the roots are starting to come out of the drainage hole under the pots. Okay, so we have a next question. It's from the plants ooze us. How to get rid of spider mites and how to prevent them. Okay, so the thing about spider mites is that it's really irritating. I really hate spider mites. Even my plants are affected. Recently I got one at home. So I'm going to teach you the method to remove them. And remember, whenever you have any pest affecting your plants, right, it is usually not at the last stage. Usually you're aware of it. And when you're aware of it, it's probably affecting maybe 1 or 2 leaves, especially in particular. So what you do is at the very first step, instead of trying to clear that pest on those leaves that's heavily infected, just go for the first and the most effective way, which is to remove it. So what you do is that you take a scissors and then you just cut it. But remember, before you take any other scissors, make sure that you take an alcohol swab and then you just swab the blades, because you don't want to infect the plants. And it is usually this method where you cut it right with a dirty scissors that you introduce a lot of bacteria and viruses inside, and then the plants will get infected, and then a few months or a few weeks later it will start to die. Then you ask like, why? Is it the pest? So remember to always sanitize your scissors, and you do mechanical removal. That's the most effective way. remove those heavily infected leaves, immediately dispose it. And then for those that's slightly infected, you can do two methods. The first method is that you can get neem oil. Neem oil is a natural occurring oil, and it is actually safe for human beings. So if you want, you can use neem oil, which is available on our website, and you can get those that comes with a spray bottle, and you just purchase it, open it, and straight away you can spray. You don't need to think about the dilution rate. It's just easy for you to use, and then you spray sparingly over the leaves, and then every other maybe minimum once or twice a week, just go for it until it's eradicated. The other method is that you can go for some of the methods that people actually share is to use alcohol. So nowadays we use a lot of alcohol swab, right? So what you do is that you take alcohol onto a tissue paper and you just gently clean away the leaves, and so that you can remove the spider mites. So I hope that I can solve your spider mites. If you still have that problem, please send us an email, and then we see how we can continue to help you to solve it. All right. I hope I answered your questions today, and happy gardening, and I hope to see you soon. Bye.